I'm Shilpa Maniar, and I head the G-Tech Global Solutions team based in New York and co-chair the Indus Google Network. I'm thrilled to have with us today a Hindu priest, an entrepreneur, a former monk of 10 years, and the author of The Power of Unwavering Focus, Dandapani. Dandapani graduated from the university with an electrical engineering degree and left that behind to become a monk under Gurudeva. After 10 years as a monk, he made his way to New York City and made that his home. He is an internationally renowned speaker, a world-leading expert on leveraging the human mind to create a life of purpose and joy. Dandapani has shared the stage with several well-renowned leaders, such as Hillary Clinton and Ban Ki-moon. He is currently creating, with his wife, a 33-acre retreat center in Costa Rica to inspire growth and self-transformation, Siva Ashram. And a fun fact, he is a monk who uses technology to service him. And he's okay with occasional emails as long as there's no attachments. With that, it's an honor to welcome Dandapani to Talks at Google to discuss his book and techniques around concentration.
Hi, Shilpa. Thank you. Thank you for having me on this. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in.
We are so excited to have you here. I know you're joining from Costa Rica, so thank you for making this work.
Oh, you're most welcome.
So diving right into the book,
Yep.
You said you poured 27 years of experience into this book. What a wealth of knowledge. The Power of Unwavering Focus is coming at a time where everyone needs it most. We talk about worry, fear, anxiety, stress on a daily basis and how they're consuming so many of us.
Mm-hmm.
So can you share with us how we can leverage concentration as a cure and what techniques you have that we can maybe apply in our day-to-days?
Okay, there's no short answer to this, Shilpa, so I'm going to take a few minutes just to share with you the theory behind the understanding of the mind so that you can take that understanding and apply it to overcoming fear, worry, anxiety, and stress. So in a nutshell, the way how the mind works is you need to look at the mind as two things. There's the mind and there's awareness. I'll define what both of those, so in the context of us talking and working together, you know where I'm coming from. I define the mind as a vast space with many different areas within it. So one area of the mind is anger, fear, jealousy, sadness, food, sex, photography. There's so many different areas of the mind. I define awareness as a glowing ball of light. So imagine an orb, a glowing ball of light that can float around. Now, some key principles to keep in mind. Your mind doesn't move, but awareness moves within the mind. Now, if your glowing ball of light called awareness goes to the anger area of the mind, it lights up the anger area of the mind. You become conscious of that area of the mind. Now, if awareness moves to the sad area of the mind, it lights up the sad area of the mind. You become conscious of it. Now, I'll give you an example. Imagine a simple analogy. If I was walking in a dark cave holding a lantern, and imagine the cave as the mind, the lantern being awareness. Now, if I walk to one corner of the cave, the lantern would only light up that corner of the cave and reveal what's in that corner of the cave to me. Now, if I walk to the other end of the cave, it would only light up this new area of the cave that I went to and reveal that area. The previous area I was in would not be lit up anymore. Awareness and the mind work exactly the same way. Wherever awareness goes in the mind, that area of the mind, it lights up and you become conscious of that area of the mind. Now that I've simplified 3 chapters of the book in like 2 minutes here, okay? Taking that understanding, let's take to fear and worry. Now, understanding fear and worry, we need to understand time. The simplified way of looking at time is we can break time into 3 parts. There's the past, there's the present, and the future. There's a very simplified way of looking at time. You can't worry or fear the past because it's already happened. There's absolutely nothing you can do about it. Fear and worry reside in the future. And what's actually happening is your awareness, your ball of light is leaving the present moment, going into the future in your mind, creating something that has not happened in your mind, coming back to the present and worrying about it. And I'll share with you a story my guru shared with me. So he was born in 1927 in Lake Tahoe. And when he was 7 years old, he was coming back in the family car and it was snowing really heavily. And he was worried he was going to get stuck in the snow and miss his favorite radio program. He saw his awareness leaving the present moment, going into the future, creating a situation in his mind where the car got stuck in the snow and they couldn't get out and he missed his favorite radio program. Then his awareness came back to the present and started worrying about the situation he created in his mind. At that moment, he saw what was happening. He saw his awareness leave the present, go into the future, conjure up a story in his mind, come back to the present and worry about that story. And essentially, that's what worry is. So now to overcome fear and worry, what you need to do is control where awareness goes in your mind. And this book is a manual on how to do that. A lot of people, Shilpa, will talk about, okay, if you feel anxiety, you feel worry, you feel stress, do breathing, mindfulness practice, meditate. And I'm not pooping any of those because I do breath control exercises. I've been meditating for God knows how long. But to me, that is not the solution. The solution is understanding the mechanics of what's causing fear to occur. Because once you understand what causes fear, then you can go to the root problem and solve it. Everything else is a patch. Me breathing is not solving the fear issue. It's just creating a patch for the situation.
Yeah.
But when I can control awareness in the mind, now I'm starting to go to the root problem of learning the mechanics of what's causing it.
And I think you said something in the book that really resonated, where you said, you can go through these things and these periods of grief and fear and challenge, but you have to really deal with it and you have to process it to really overcome it. And that's part of like the realization. And I thought it would be interesting if you could talk to us a little bit about, so you have the mind and you compare that to like a 3-story building, because there's 3 stages of the mind: your conscious, your subconscious, and your superconscious.
Correct.
And your subconscious is where most of us spend 95% of our decisions are actually made by our subconscious. And if they're bad or good, our subconscious is kind of like directing that. So how do we understand where awareness is in our mind, understand these 3 levels of our mind, and then simplify it for ourselves? Like, I think it's such a difficult thing to talk about, but like there's a lot going on in this brain, our processor, right?
Yeah.
And like, what do we do so that we can actually control this light of, this ball of light, and say, we want you to not go there and we want you to go here today, and have that awareness to say that.
Yeah. So a couple of things here you touched on. So we talked to the mind as being a vast space. Now, if I were to take that vast space and categorize it, I would break it into 3 parts. You would have the superconscious mind, the subconscious, and the conscious mind. The conscious mind is your instinctive nature. It's tied to your physical senses, your physical body. It's the eating, interaction, the sexual, drinking area of the mind. That's the instinctive conscious mind. The subconscious is your intellectual mind. All information you consume gets stored in the subconscious. Experiences you've had with emotions attached to it get stored in the subconscious, along with habit patterns and things like that. The superconscious is your intuitive, creative, spiritual area of the mind. Now, if you were to stack them up as a building, the conscious mind would be on the ground floor, the subconscious would be on the 2nd floor, and the superconscious would be on the 3rd floor. At any given point in time, your awareness, your ball of light, is either functioning on the 1st floor, the 2nd floor, or the 3rd floor. Now, not one is better than the other. Ultimately, is what do you want in life, and where's the best place to function in order to get the results that you want. So for example, if I want to be in the debate team in my high school, I should be in the 2nd floor, in the intellectual area of the mind, where I can take information and argue and debate and things like that. Now, if I want to be in a deeply spiritual area of the mind, I don't want to be in the subconscious. I want to be in the superconscious, in the intuitive area of the mind, and access deeper regions of my superconscious mind. And the conscious mind is the instinctive area of the mind. So how do you understand where someone is at any given point in time? You look at the characteristics of what they're doing. So I'll give you a simple example. I used to run retreats to Asia once a year and invite people to come. We'd stay at very nice places, and quite often these hotels would have a huge buffet table. Now, in order to know which area of the mind my group was functioning in, I would go early and sit at the restaurant and watch people come in. And if someone came in with a plate to this massive buffet table and started loading up their plate with food, and then pushing things to the side and kept loading up some more and take another side place and load up some more, then I know they were in the instinctive area of the mind. That's the animal nature. You just see food and you just want to eat everything. Eat it all, everything. So I know, okay, that person's the instinctive area of the mind. So when I communicate with them, I need to communicate not from an intellectual level or intuitive level. I need to communicate from an instinctive level, because that's how I can communicate. Now, someone else coming to the buffet table with a plate, and he puts a couple of things on his plate, and then he calls the waiter over and goes, "Excuse me, is that gluten-free?" And they go like, "Oh yeah, okay, great, thank you." And then he goes to the next thing like, "Oh, hang on a second, what's this dish? Oh, how do you make that? Really? I didn't know they had cinnamon in that. That's fascinating. Is it from this region? What area of the mind are they functioning in? The intellectual area of the mind. Because they can't even get through the buffet counter without asking 50 different questions. So now I know they're functioning in the intellectual area of the mind. And if someone comes to the buffet table with a plate and they just put a couple of things on there and they say, intuitively, they say, I had a big dinner last night. I don't really need a big breakfast. And that's all I need. And they go sit down, then I know they're functioning in the intuitive area of the mind. So the intuition is always concise, it's precise, and it never repeats itself. Those are the characteristics of the intuitive area of the mind. The intellectual mind can be very convoluted, especially if the intellect is not organized. It discusses, it debates. It's like, well, if this happens, that happens, and this could happen, and that could happen. It just ramifies everything. And the instinctive mind is the animal nature of the mind. It's just really like an animal. We'll just fight, fear, fight, flight, response kind of thing.
And so, I think that you can think about the mind in these three stages. And I think it's interesting that you said there's no good place to be. There's no right place to be when you're thinking about your mind. But how do you leverage all three of these stages, or even whatever stage you're in, to be maximizing your energy and kind of optimizing the output? And maybe we can pivot to how you said your mind really can help you build the skill of concentration and be able to have that focused attention. Like I think it's really exhausting, I think, when your mind is going in different directions and then having to go through the day afterwards knowing that you just exercised your muscles so much and you might have not had the outcome you wanted.
Yeah, I would say two things here. One is that, to know which area of the mind to awareness to function in, you need to know what you want, right? So again, if I wanted to be in the debate team, then I need to keep my mind in the intellectual area of the mind. If I want to have a deeply introspective, reflective, intuitive life, then my awareness needs to be more in the superconscious area of the mind. Most people aren't clear what they want in their life. They're not clear of their purpose in life, and therefore, how would you know what area of the mind to function in? Purpose drives everything. And you can't find your purpose if you can't be focused. Now, if you can't be in a state of self-reflection long enough to reflect on yourself, find out what it is you want, how can you even know your purpose? That's why focus precedes purpose. And this book, I talk about it in the first couple of pages of the book. I share a story of how I was having a glass of wine with my friend in Munich. And he says, you talk about how important it is for people to know your purpose in life, but you always teach about focus. Why is that? Why don't you teach about purpose? And I say, if you can't focus, you can't reflect long enough to know what you want. So we need to learn how to concentrate. Now, we tell people to concentrate, but we don't teach them how to do it. And the first step in learning how to concentrate is to understand the difference between awareness and the mind, because I define concentration as my ability to keep my awareness on one thing or one person for a period of time until I choose it to move it to something else. So if I'm having a conversation with you, Shilpa, I keep my awareness, my ball of light on you. If it drifts away, I bring it back. If it drifts away, I bring it back. My ability to keep my awareness on you is my ability to concentrate, to focus. And that's something we can practice and become really good at. The same way people are masters at distractions because they practice it all the time. There's no difference. If you practice concentration, you'll be really good at it as well.
Yeah, I thought that was a very true reality where you said concentration is a skill we need to build a habit to do. And like distraction is something that we've just grown up with, right? Because no one taught us how to concentrate. So we can all be masters of distraction. And how do we pivot that so that we have that focused attention to really concentrate and see results or see where we want to be, whether that's focused or purpose-driven intention. So I guess, what do you have, we talked about concentration, we talked about the mind and awareness, and we talked about kind of attention and purpose-driven attention. How do you help people use their mind to identify their purpose and then either have the want and desire to go after that purpose? Like what advice do you have to folks that are saying, okay, maybe I can concentrate, maybe I have I kind of know what my purpose is, but I'm not getting there. So like, what advice do you have for people like that?
Yeah, I would say the first step is learning how to concentrate. And the simple way to do it is we define concentration as the ability to keep awareness on one thing at a time. So the simple way to practice concentration is to do one thing at a time throughout the day. The best way to get at this practice is to identify the non-negotiable reoccurring events in your day. And what do I mean by that? So if you take an average day, every day I speak with my wife, and maybe I speak a cumulative total of 2 hours with her in an average day, half an hour here, 5 minutes there, 2 minutes there, 1 minute there. Now, this is non-negotiable and it's reoccurring. So if I leverage this experience and I insert the practice into that experience that happens every day, now I get to practice concentration for 2 hours a day. Every time I speak with her, I give her my undivided attention. I speak to my daughter maybe 2-3 hours a day. So every time I speak with my daughter, I give her my undivided attention. Now, between my daughter and my wife, I can clock up about 4 hours of practicing concentration a day. Now, if I wanted to play for the San Francisco 49ers or the Lakers or something, most people would probably say, okay, you might have to practice 6-7 hours a day, 7 days a week. And after 6 months, they go like, you probably still won't play for the Lakers, but you'll be better at basketball. So imagine if I practice concentration 4-5 hours a day, 6 days a week or 7 days a week. After 6 months, I would naturally be good at concentration. So rather than me saying to you, I want you to get up in the morning, do yoga for half an hour, meditate for half an hour, do breath control for 2 minutes. That's one more thing you have to add to your life. I'm not asking you to add anything to your life. I'm asking you to identify the things that already occur in your life and then insert the practice into those things that already occur. Do them differently. Every day you speak to a partner, your spouse, potentially your kids, someone at work that you have to talk to at least Monday to Friday. Use that opportunity to practice concentration. Every time you talk to them, give them your undivided attention. And it doesn't even have to be people, right? There are things that we do every day too, like brushing your teeth, taking a shower, having a meal. Give your meal your undivided attention. Brush your teeth. Focus on brushing your teeth. It could be 2 minutes of brushing the teeth in the morning, 2 minutes of brushing the teeth at night. That's 4 minutes of practicing concentration. You have meals for half an hour a day. That's another 30 minutes. Now you're up to 34 minutes of practicing concentration a day. I bet you after 6 months, you're starting to get good at it. And that's how you build the practice of focus. So that's the first step.
And how do you know, like when you feel like, okay, I think I feel like I'm in a good place in terms of concentration and focus? Like, is it something that you just feel inside of you that you're like, okay, I think I have some clarity, or at what point do you advise people that you're ready for the next level or the next stage?
Milestone signposts. If I sit with a friend of mine and have coffee for an hour, and in that 1 hour having coffee with him or her, I'm distracted for 55 minutes and just looking around. I'm like a squirrel all over the place. I'm highly distracted. Now I start practicing this. 6 months later, I have coffee with the same person. I can concentrate for half an hour out of that 1 hour. I'm making progress. All we have to do is just look at ourselves and we can see if we're making progress,
Yeah.
That's really I used to struggle eating pizza. I would overeat pizza and then go like, oh my God, I overate.
Yeah.
And then it took me a while to know exactly how many slices of pizza to eat without overeating.
Yeah.
What was the signpost? I didn't feel uncomfortable after eating pizza anymore. I didn't go like, oh my God, I ate too much. I'm making progress.
If only we could get people to concentrate on ads that much. I'm just I know that the lifespan of an ad is pretty short-lived in terms of like capturing someone's attention and keeping them focused on the advertisement. But no, to bring it back, I think that is such.
So just to comment on what you just said, but that's the problem with where we're going today, right? Society is training people that have short attention spans. We need reels that are 90 seconds or 60 seconds, short form content no one's going to watch. So we're training our attention spans to be 60 seconds, 90 seconds. And in the book, I talk about the law of practice. You become good at whatever it is you practice. Yeah. If you practice concentrating for 60-second periods, that's how long you can concentrate. The next time you're sitting with your spouse having a conversation, you can guarantee you're only going to focus on him or her for 60 seconds before awareness moves on to something else. Because all day you're sitting there swiping the stupid thing left, right, and center, for every 60 seconds.
And I think that, and we'll get to this later, but I think that's exactly how society is consuming content, because there's so much out there. There's so many devices there. I know that you said you use technology to serve you, but it almost is an inhibitor to concentrate, because you are looking at Instagram, you are watching TikTok, you're watching, something streaming on TV. And so your attention's constantly being demanded in different areas. So
this goes back to what you asked a few minutes ago, which is about purpose, right? If we're clear of our purpose in life, then technology becomes a servant to us. Mm-hmm. If we're not clear of our purpose, then we become a servant to technology. Technology can define to us what we should consume. So I'm clear what I want in my life. My clarity of my purpose defines my priorities in life, which is, I define priorities as who and what is important in my life. Mm-hmm. Now I know who and what's important in my life. Now I ask myself, how can technology help support me focusing on my priorities? Mm-hmm. For example, we're creating a 33-acre botanical garden here in Costa Rica. I have shovels in a container. When I want to dig a hole, I take the shovel out, I dig a hole, I clean the shovel, I put it back in the container. When I need my phone to help me fulfill my purpose, I grab the phone. When I don't, I put it away. It's no different than a shovel to me, because my purpose is driving my life. It's only when you don't have a purpose that you pick up the phone all day and you keep scrolling through things endlessly, because there's nowhere else to direct your attention.
Yeah. And I think that oftentimes, like when you have a traditional job and you're working, or you have some like routine processes, when you have those micro moments between events, so you have a meeting and then you might have 5 minutes till your next meeting, those are some filler times. So what advice do you have to practice concentration within those filler times that you have between two events? That might not be 30 minutes. It might be more of a short-term time frame, or finite time frame. I know you like finite.
I'm finite. Everything is finite. It is damn truth. It is finite for sure. Again, Shilpa, I get asked this question a lot, right? These type of questions I get asked, can you give my audience like something quick to help them focus? We got to go back to the basics. The basic is, here are the steps. First step, learn to understand how the mind works. Second step, learn to focus the mind, both of which is outlined in the book. Third step, use your ability, the understanding of the mind and the ability to focus to discover your purpose in life. Because your purpose will define your priorities. Your priorities will then define what you do in the 5 minutes.
Okay.
If there are 1,000 people listening to this, those 5 minutes are all going to be different. There's not one thing that I can say that's applicable across the board to all 5,000 people. So have your purpose and priorities define what you focus on, because then if you have 5 minutes, if you have 10 minutes, even if you have half an hour, your flight's delayed and you got to sit there for half an hour, then you go, okay, I know what to focus on, because purpose drives what you focus on. Your purpose defines your priorities, and then you know what to focus on. You never waste time. And the question that you asked about 10 minutes ago, what is the impetus for doing this? For me, going back to finite, life is finite. We're all going to die one day.
Yeah.
You don't like to think about it. I'm a Hindu. I believe in reincarnation, but I have one life as Dandapani. My next life, I could be a 6-foot-tall blonde girl named Olga, for all I know. But I have one life as Dandapani, and I want it to be an amazing life. How can I make it an amazing life? Clarity of purpose. I know, Shilpa, that one day I will die. I don't believe life is short, because if I'm stuck in traffic for 3 hours, I don't think it's short. So if I get to live for 3 days, then it's long. But I am clear every day. I remind myself that I have a finite time on this planet. And that realization that my time is finite, there's a clock somewhere counting down with my name on it that I can't see, drives me to identify who and what's important, and drives me to focus on that. The byproduct of that is you live a rewarding life. You live a happy life. You're South Asian, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Hasn't at some point in your life your parents or relatives have said to you, Beta, all we want you to be is happy. We want you to just to be happy. Mom and dad want you to be happy. Someone at some point has said that if you're coming from a South Asian background.
Yeah,
happiness should be never be pursued, never pursue happiness, but rather pursue a lifestyle where the byproduct of the lifestyle results in happiness. How do you define the lifestyle? You define purpose. Purpose defines priorities. Priorities define the lifestyle. Focus on that. The byproduct of that is happiness, contentment, satisfaction, joy.
Yeah. And, you talk about death and these drivers of purpose. And I thought it was interesting in the book how you said that some people, you go through these stages where you're able to concentrate, you kind of understand your mind, you have some clarity in your purpose, but you don't have the desire to want to possess it. And some of the drivers are, I think you talked about happiness, manifesting your goals, and then death. And so can you talk about, I know you just talked a little bit about happiness and death, but also manifestation and how you can also use that as a tool to help you kind of get closer to your purpose, or whatever that desirable outcome is.
Yeah. And again, manifestation, in creating what you want in life, you must have clarity of purpose, right? Everything goes back to purpose. A lot of people struggle to create what they want in life because they don't know what they want in life. One thing I do is ask people, what do you want? They have no idea. I was invited to the Silicon Valley, really private, exclusive, hedge fund event to speak at. It was like 120 people from around the world. I asked a lady that was there, I asked her, what does your business do? She said this to me: we make loans affordable. Forwards, we make loans affordable. How clear is that? It's so concise, so precise, it's so clear. Okay, I know what you do. You make loans affordable. Then I asked her, what's your purpose in life? And she spoke for 5 minutes. She had no idea.
Yeah.
And the same thing, right? It's we spend time in our businesses, in companies, I'm sure in Google and across all the departments, clarifying what it is this department does. Defining clear goals so everybody knows where we're going. You don't tell your programmers, just start coding. What are we coding? I don't know, just code.
Go for it.
Yeah. Just go for it. Just write something, whatever. No, there's a very clear definition of the goal. There's the architecture, the structures written out, and steps to follow to get there, right? So why don't we take that approach with life? If we don't take that approach with life, we're never going to manifest anything. We put vision boards and like pictures we cut out of a magazine, stick it on the wall and say the universe is going to guide us.
I talk to the universe.
No, Pluto's not listening to you. Jupiter's got other things to do than listen to Chopin all day. The universe is busy running the universe.
I know.
You have to leverage the power of your mind. You have the most amazing tool in your head. That tool, this mind created Google. I think Google is freaking amazing. I use Google every day, right? And the mind created Google. It created smartphones, laptops, rovers on Mars, shuttles flying through space. We all have access to the mind. The problem is we're never taught how it works, even the fundamental inner workings of the mind, and how to leverage that understanding to create the life that we want. And therefore, we go through life never manifesting what we want, whether it's a partner in life or whether it's wealth or possessions or whatever it is, peace of mind. We don't, because we don't understand the tool that we're working with. A good programmer can create amazing things because he understands the language and is able to leverage that understanding of the language to program something. I think that's a fair statement.
Yes, no, that absolutely. I think that when you have those clear goals, there's clarity in terms of what you're delivering and how you're delivering it, assuming you have the skill to do that task.
Yeah.
So I agree. And I think in purpose, this is a question a lot of people have because they're they're trying to identify and discover their purpose. I think, it's so honorable or humble that you found your purpose early in life and you've been pursuing it and refining it and you are where you are today because of that. So purpose is a constant search for most of us. But I thought what you said about death, and it was uncomfortable, and I think you prefaced it in the book too. You're like, this is difficult. People don't talk about death, right? as being a way to think about how important is that priority to you, or how do you actually decide what you want to do with that time. So if you had 3 hours to live, I think that was an analogy you said. You said, what are you going to do? And how are you going to say no? Or what are you going to say no to? And that should be helpful in making your decision of what's important to you. So
we're talking for an hour here. If someone told you, Shilpa, you had 5 minutes to live, you're going to carry on this conversation?
I mean,
no, you'd hang up.
No, I probably would. No, if I had 3 hours, but you know what?
If you had 5 minutes.
If I had 5 minutes, no, I think, and I've experienced death. My mom passed away, unfortunately, a few years ago. And so, to me, before that happened, the world seemed perfect and life was great. And I never experienced loss. And I didn't know what loss felt like because it was never near to me. And then when I lost my mom, it really pivoted the way I think and the way I want to live. And it's helping shape some of the decisions I'm making. So I thought when I read about how you position death and how you said, life is not short, life is finite. But when you have these experiences of trauma or loss, how do you help that redefine you? How do you take that realization? You might process grief and you say, go on with your life, but you can also process grief and then change the way you prioritize. And so
I thought you read the lesson well.
Oh, I really enjoyed the book. Like I said, everyone, if you haven't read it, The Power of Unwavering Focus, highly recommend it. But can you go a little bit deeper into, how you were able to use some of these tools early in your life to be where you are today?
In the book, I share a quote from the Dalai Lama, which I think summarizes so succinctly death. And he says and again, I'm quoting him and will not be quoting him accurately, but he says, the analysis of death is not for the purpose of fearing death, but rather for valuing the preciousness of life. So we talk about death not to fear it, but rather to appreciate how precious life is, right? I lost my guru when he was in the monastery, and that was the most devastating experience in my life.
Yeah.
So that made me realize that, wow, the people that I love in my life are on loan to me.
Yeah.
I don't get to keep them forever. And doesn't mean someone's 3 years old or 5 years old, they're going to have 90 years to live. That's not the case. Babies die all the time. Children die all the time. I had a friend that lost his daughter just a few months ago, and she was 30 years younger than him or something. So once you realize that, there's a difference again between knowing that we all die and realizing. And once you realize that, you go okay, I have X in my life. I don't know for how long. Let's call it a finite period.
Yes, not short, but finite.
Not short, but finite. So how do I leverage the time I have with X? For me, if I learn to focus, I can be present with them all the time and experience them fully. If I can be focused, I can be present. I can listen to what they're saying. I can hear the things they're not saying. I can experience things with them. I can enjoy them fully. And to me, ultimately, that's one of the most rewarding things in life.
That is so well said. And I think that I hope one day I can be there. I think to be able to have that clarity. And, I know I'm going to start practicing concentration. Now we have something at Google called Focus Time, where we started implementing Focus Time on your calendar. So you can have a couple hours or windows of time where you can just work or think. But, something.
Can I stop you here? Sure. In Google's Focus Time, did Google teach? What do you call yourselves, Googlers? Or
we call ourselves Googlers.
Googlers. Yeah. Did Google teach Googlers how to actually focus? Or did they just say this is focus time?
And I'm probably not, from my personal experience in terms of I've been at Google for over a decade now, and we definitely have several courses and training things on meditation and wellness and well-being, but I don't think I ever took a class on how to focus. I don't think I ever took a intentional or deliberate class on that.
Yes, because meditation is not focus, right? It's like the example I gave in the book, where people say, I walk my dog, that's my meditation. I'm like, Okay, when I cook, it's my meditation. I'm like, what the hell is meditation then? You call everything a meditation. Like, focus is focus. Like, I've worked with extremely successful athletes, really successful entrepreneurs, and so many of them have either been told to focus or tell their teams to focus.
Yeah.
Sports coaches do this all the time. Guys, we've got 3 minutes on the clock. When you get back out there, I really need you to focus. Great. How do you focus? There's a process, a systematic process on how to focus.
And so how would you, and if there's a simple way, I know we talked, the book is definitely highly recommended. Everyone should read it because it goes a lot deeper, but at a quick, and I know you're not you can do this, but for those athletes that say, they're on the court, it's overtime, they have a minute left, and there's a lot going on in their head. And what guidance do you have for some of these high performing athletes to say, focus, be present? Like, what's your advice to them?
Controlling awareness in the mind. Because just say I'm an athlete, if I'm playing soccer, for example, and it's 1 minute left on the clock and there's a penalty kick and I got to get the ball in the back of the net.
Yep.
Now, my awareness is on the ball. That's all I'm focusing on. I've practiced this 10,000 times or more. Mm-hmm. But if I let go of my ball of light can travel to another area of the mind and say, okay, if I score, I'm going to run to that corner, take my shirt off, show everyone my hot body, or if I don't score, my God, I'm going to get crucified in the papers today, and on social media. And what am I going to do? I'll be a failure. Will they keep me in the team? Now, awareness can travel to everywhere in the mind. But if I can harness that ball of light with my willpower, which I talk about in the book, bring it back, use my powers of concentration, and keep my awareness just on the ball. My goal is to step forward, kick this ball, and put it in that corner, which I practice, I don't know, God knows how many times. That's all I need to do. The ability to control awareness solves so much of our mental ailments, from anxiety, stress, fear, worry, everything.
And how do you, and in that scenario, and in the process of concentration, focus, and purpose, so say you felt in that moment you did it right. You focused on the ball. You didn't take off your shirt to make that, Instagram viral moment. You didn't think about what the tabloids are thinking, but then you missed the goal, right? You didn't. And so is there a correlation between focus and, results that you want, that you think are good for you? Or how do you personally manage that, where you feel like, oh, I gave it my all, but I didn't get the desired outcome? Like, how do you handle those challenges?
I get up and try again. I failed my whole life. Like I said in the book, I'm no stranger to failure. You should see my report card in high school. I didn't even know they handed out A's and B's.
It can't be that bad. You're South Asian. I'm sure you weren't allowed to get anything lower than an A or B.
I was the odd one out in the family compared to all the other South Asian relatives of mine. But so I'm okay with failure, and I fail all the time. And for me, it's how can I learn from it? One thing my guru taught me in the monastery a lot was, okay, if I fail, first question is, what can I learn from it? Second question, how can I take this learning applied in my life so that in the future, I don't repeat it again? And sometimes it's not always possible to do that right away. Sometimes we might fail 3 or 4 or 5 times and make the same mistake. I knew for a long time in my life, I would screw up 3 or 4 times in the same area before I actually learned the lesson. That was my average. I never learned from the first mistake. It took 3 or 4 times before I learned.
And how frustrating was it for you the first few times where you're like, didn't get it the first time, didn't get it the second time, didn't get it the third time? Like, how did you keep your attention to say, I'm going to be committed to this?
By changing my perspective on me. I only got frustrated because I didn't accept me for where I was in the spectrum of evolution. I look at me now as a building under construction. There's rebar lying around, nails, broken cinder blocks. It's a freaking mess. I'm still being built. There's a lot of work to be done. If I take that perspective, then I go, okay, I will make mistakes. I will screw up. I will say things that hurt people or annoy someone or upset someone because I'm still learning. And once you take that perspective, then you have a lot more compassion and empathy with yourself. But if you view yourself as always having to be perfect, never making mistakes, never saying the wrong thing, never embarrassing yourself, that's when you get disappointed. I'm a product of evolution, so I'm still learning and growing.
And, I think that is really a journey that we're all on together to help each other accept our failures and move on. So I want to just commend you. I think that in your book, you talk a lot about how we can help each other and lift each other, and how we can, get us to where we need to be, or whatever that purposeful life we want to live, how to get there and how to help each other get there. So I think that that's important.
And just take the perspective that we're all growing. Some of us are making efforts at growing faster and others aren't.
Yeah.
So it's okay. So we just have to have compassion, and where we are in the spectrum of our growth, that's how we respond to life situations, right? So if I look back at me at 20 years old, I did stupid things because that was my state of evolution. You can't expect a monkey to do anything more than a monkey can do. So I look back at it when I was 20 and I go like, well, obviously I did that. My mind wasn't developed enough to do anything beyond that.
The saying monkey see, monkey do is a real thing.
It totally is. And I will look back, maybe hopefully from 60 years old, looking back at my life now and go like, oh, well, okay, you weren't so evolved in 2022, and hopefully you're more evolved later and make better decisions.
And so we have a few audience questions. I want to make sure we have time for them.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's see what the first one is. Wonderful. Okay, so Shri is asking, is overthinking the intellectual part of the brain? And I think this is going back to the 3 stages we were talking about.
Correct. It's the subconscious, and the subconscious is cluttered and disorganized, and that's what causes overthinking. So I'll give you a simple analogy. Imagine if I have a room in my house and I wanted to create a library, and every day I added 10 books into the room. When I add the 10 books to the room, I don't index them, I don't categorize them, nothing. After a year, I have 3,650 books. Now, if I want to access information from the library, it's an absolute mess. It's chaos to try and find anything because there's no index, there's no system. How would I find anything? The subconscious is no different. Look at the subconscious as a room, which in today's world, we're filling constantly with information. All day, we're consuming and consuming and consuming information. The information we consume isn't organized, processed, and stored in our subconscious in any organized way. And no conclusions are formed. So now when you go to access that information, it's like going to the library in my house, which is just cluttered full of books. And that causes overthinking, like, should I do this? Should I do that? And what if that happens and this happened? Consuming information the way we do right now is highly detrimental. And that's why people are confused. They're just, they can't make decisions. There's no clarity. They're overthinking because the subconscious is just so overcluttered.
And do you have, so I guess what would your tip be to kind of follow up to that is like, if it is overcluttered, how do you actually organize and create a card catalog? Is that through practicing concentration and focused attention?
Yes. Well, by not learning how to focus first,
okay.
Then practicing it, that would be the first step. That will help you gain clarity of purpose. Once you have purpose and priorities, that will help you decide what information to consume. Don't get me wrong, I go on Instagram, I go on Pinterest, but I go for very, very specific reasons. I don't just consume through the timeline endlessly through reels or feeds. I know what I'm looking for, and therefore I consume information within a certain category. That doesn't cause clutter in my mind.
Yeah.
Despite Instagram constantly trying to show me all kinds of random crazy stuff.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was going to make a Facebook joke. That's not our algorithm. We try to be really intentional in what you see and what you like based on your interest. But
thank you.
but no, all jokes aside, I think that's really important. Sri, thanks for that very
thank you,
thought-provoking question. I think we have another question on the Dory. Oh, okay, same one. While we get the next one on.
Here it is.
Okay, great. Is multitasking anti-concentrating?
Yes, because let's define what multitasking is. So we define what concentration is. Concentration is me keeping my awareness on one thing at a time. Multitasking is my awareness shifting between two things. Now, awareness, that ball of light, cannot be at two places in the mind at the same time. So multitasking would be my awareness being on A, then switching to B, switching to A, switching to B, switching to A, giving me the sense I'm doing two things at one time. But all I'm doing is switching. And the more I practice this, the better I become at it. Eventually, I become a master distraction. Now, I sit down to talk with my daughter. My awareness has been trained to jump around. So I'm talking to my daughter, and then it jumps here, and then it jumps back to her. And I go, oh, that's intriguing. What is that, an elephant? Okay, then I switch here, and then I come back. So multitasking trains you on how to be distracted.
And so I guess it's a lot of, I think with the way that the workday works, when you have meetings or different topical things, you might go to one meeting that's about, a new product release or a new feature. And then you might go to the second meeting that's more of a strategy conversation about an unrelated feature, an unrelated product. Then how do you take those? What would your recommendation be to address your day if you know that you have a lot of meetings that are about different things?
That's not multitasking, right? Because what you're doing is you're consciously shifting from A to B. It's when B takes you away from A, that's when it's multitasking or you're getting distracting. So in a day, I have construction going on. I have like 30 people working outside, cutting rebars, pouring concrete and stuff. So I have to switch between giving this talk here with Google, go out there, talk about rebars and concrete and foam boards, and then switch to my app or talk to my publisher about the book and talk to my family. That's not multitasking. I am consciously saying, okay, I'm done with this. Now I'm going to switch to this. And I could talk to the foreman about construction for 3 minutes and then say, okay, I'm done with him. Now I'm going to switch to this. Talk about this for 1 minute, consciously shift to the next thing. A lot of people misunderstand that and think that's multitasking. No, I am making the decision to move from A to B, and that is a state of focus.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions on the Dory? Sandeep, overwhelming fractions of my thoughts are repetitive and untrue. My problem solver brain just can't stop solving problems. Which story am I in? Or which floor is he in? What immediate steps can he take?
Second floor, intellectual mind, right? Yeah, the intuitive mind doesn't feel the need to solve problems or solve everyone's problems. It's not the nature of the intuitive mind. The intellectual mind, yes. So I would say one of the first things is to really cultivate a state of acceptance, accept things for how they are. You don't have to solve every problem. If someone comes and tells you a problem, you can just listen, and you don't have to feel like you have to give a solution, especially if it's your spouse. They may just want you to listen. You can solve it in your head, but don't say it out loud to them. Okay, if you can't help yourself, but not everything needs to be solved.
I think that there's a natural inclination. Maybe this is what Sandeep was saying, is when someone comes to you with a problem, your natural instinct is almost like they're asking for a solution. And so, I guess what you just said is not everyone wants a solution. Maybe you just have to listen. So how do you know in what circumstances or instances are you there as a listener to not solve actively?
The easiest way to know is to ask. I have a degree in electrical engineering. I've been trained to solve problems. In the early years of my marriage, I tried to solve all my wife's problems.
How did that work out?
Not very well. I can tell you. So now I ask. I listen, I shut up, I listen, and then I ask, would you like me to listen, or would you like me to share, a solution or something or some insight? I just want you to listen. It's like, okay, I'll listen.
Thanks. I think that's so.
And then when you're listening, you can take the different approach of sharing empathy and compassion. Try that. That's a nice thing to do. Instead of solving a problem, just to express empathy. I'm so sorry you're going through this. It must be so challenging. Yeah. How can I support you? And I'm not sure who was asking, Sandeepa, but one perspective you can take to help the problem-solving mind is take the perspective of how can I serve? What can I do for you? As opposed to saying, I'm going to solve your problem, ask, how can I serve you? And that person may say, I just want you to listen.
Yeah.
Or I'd like you to make me a cup of tea. That would really make a difference. Like, okay, great, I'll do that for you. So take a service mindset. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's helpful. So just make sure to have understanding on what they want.
It's amazing when you ask what happened.
Yeah. Yeah. I need to practice that. I don't think I've asked that so directly before. So I think that'll be interesting to hear what the spectrum of responses are once you do ask that question. Yeah. So we have a few more questions on the dory. Deepak, there's so much information in the world, which certainly creates several thoughts up and down in your mind. How to train our mind to filter out the not needed information, so the noise. How do we filter out the noise in our mind?
Deepak, I always give the same answer. Know your purpose. Figure out your purpose. Learn how to focus, because once you can focus, the book teaches you how to focus. It's really practical. I even have an app. Within the Dandapani app, there's a section called Rituals where you can track how well you're practicing your focus every day by giving self-evaluating, and there's graphs, which you all know how to read at Google, and you can see if you're making progress. So once you learn to practice concentration, use that ability to concentrate, to reflect on your life, understand what it is you want in life, or at the very least, who and what's important. Use those parameters, those priorities as parameters to define what information you consume. For me, this project, Siva Ashram in Costa Rica, is really important. It requires gardening, landscaping information. So when I consume information, I consume landscaping, gardening, plant information. I don't consume anything else that's not related in that category, because my priorities have created the parameters of what information I create. We have to reverse engineer this. And if we don't, we'll never get it. There's no hacks to this. You can put all the blocks you want. You can have your focus times. You can have your little patches here and there. You'll just never get where you want to go. Yeah. Start at the basics. Make your way from A to B systematically.
Yeah. When you say it, it's always so easy to hear and say like, okay, I can do that. But then sometimes I think it goes back to priorities. There's competing things that you think everything's important. I need to know about landscaping, but then I need to worry about my kids and their school or whatever that other thing is, or maybe dinner. And then you're like, okay, now I need to Google some recipes. And so I think goes back to prioritization and understanding what's important to you in that moment. Right.
And one thing, absolutely. And one thing I should also say is, one of the keys is simplification. We need to simplify our life, right? And I talk, not so much in the book, but in talks that I give, I talk about managing energy. I always tell people there's a finite amount of energy each day, right? And throughout the day, we invest energy into people and things around us. At night, we have no energy. Our energy builds back up again when we sleep. The next day, we go out and we invest energy into people and things around us. But what most of us never do is we never evaluate who and what we're investing our energy into. So if we only have that much energy each day, we need to simplify the number of people and things in our life so we can proportionately divide that energy across those people and things in order to feed those things in our life. So we lead complicated lives. We try to do too much. Simplify. Have your purpose. There's 4 steps. Purpose, focus, simplify, sacrifice. Who and what are we willing to give up in the pursuit of simplifying our lives so that we can focus on our priorities that are defined by our purpose? It was a really long sentence, but you can play it back again.
We're not at Twitter. We don't have a character limit. So
I love it.
With that. With that, the next question, please. I think we have a few more questions, so I want to make sure we get to them. Sean, my understanding of creativity is a beautiful connection of various concepts that is original. Focus seems like it's limiting instead. Are focus and creativity mutually exclusive?
No, focus and creativity go hand in hand. Focus brings out more creativity in you. When awareness can be focused, you can navigate awareness from the conscious mind, the first floor, through the subconscious, the second floor, into the third floor, the superconscious area of the mind, which is where creativity, intuition comes from. Every time you go like, oh, that's what I need to do, that's your intuition. That's where creativity comes from. Your ability to hold awareness in unwavering focus in a creative area of the mind allows that flow to continuously come through. If awareness moves away from that, then you go like, oh, I've lost my mojo. I was in the flow and then I lost it.
Yeah.
Your ability to keep awareness in that area of the mind where there's a perfect connection of creativity flow, focus lends to creativity. I would not trade focus for anything in the world.
And how do you, and say you were focused on this area and then a distraction came, like someone called your name, how do you refocus it back? Like what technique do you have to kind of go back to that spot that you were in, that you felt you had a really good creative idea and you don't want to lose it?
The mind is like a vast space, right? If I walked around enough times in my garden, I would know exactly where to go to find the mango tree.
Mm-hmm.
The mind is no different. Once you start controlling awareness in the mind and you can move it very consciously through the conscious mind, the subconscious, the superconscious, you know the area of the mind where creativity is. You know the area of the mind where anger is. So to go back there again is very easy. Do you live in an apartment in New York?
I do, yes.
Do you know where the bathroom is?
Yes.
Do you need to look at the house plans to go to the bathroom? No. You know where to go. Even at night, if you woke up at 3 a.m. and you were like totally spaced out, tired, you know where to go. The mind is no different. We don't understand the mind. We don't know where everything is. In the monastery where I live, Guru Deva drew out maps of the mind. We had maps outlined in our meditation room so monks would know how to navigate awareness to different areas of the mind. We drew maps of the world, right? Yeah. You guys have maps, Google Maps. I use it all the time. You guys are like the map people.
Yes, we have maps. So I think now we're going to need you to come back and help us create a map of our mind.
No, it is.
And help us drive through that.
Do you remember your 21st birthday?
I do.
Do you remember who was there? Or what it was about? Or where it took place?
I don't remember where it was. No, I don't remember.
You don't?
Oh, no, I do. I remember. It's all coming back to me now. So yeah, it was in Michigan. It was in Michigan with my college friends.
So there you go. Now you've taken awareness to an area of the subconscious mind where the memory is. The longer you hold awareness there, what did you say? Oh, now I remember, it's coming back to me.
Yeah.
Because the longer your awareness is staying there, the more your information you're gathering. So I just took your awareness to a memory in your subconscious. The longer you stayed there, the more information you gathered. It's no different with creativity.
Interesting. Well, thank you for sharing that. I know we have limited time. We have some more questions. Hopefully you have a couple minutes. We want one more question from the audience right now.
Yeah.
Soumya, can we focus on material objectives if we start our spiritual journey of life?
Yes.
Good question.
Yeah. I would say the perspective among South Asians, I come from a South Asian culture, is that if you pursue a spiritual life, material things are bad. Money especially is shunned. My guru took a very different, right? Sorry?
Money sometimes conflated with greed or power, and that's why it can be shunned.
Yeah, no. And my guru took a very different perspective. He changed my relationship towards material things and money because he never viewed them as bad. He never viewed money as a bad thing. If you look at all the NGOs around the world that are doing great things, how are they funded? With money. You know, one of my mentors, entrepreneurial mentors, has a beautiful saying. He said, profit is for the purpose of impact. You know, that also made one of my goals in life is to make as much money as possible. Why? Because with that wealth, I can help fulfill my mission of impacting lives, of educating people on the mind and focus, and teaching children to focus and understand their mind so they don't have to live off drugs. Wouldn't it be nice if people could understand their purpose in life when they're 6, 7, 8 years old and spend their life living in alignment with their purpose? Wouldn't it be great to support the environment and teach, educate people on caring about this planet? I need money to do that. Having nice things, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. If you want to have a Ferrari, go ahead and have a Ferrari. When have you stood next to a Ferrari and gone like, oh my God, this is not uplifting? Never.
But you might feel like, is this indulgent? You might feel like...
Maybe if you have 10 Ferraris, yes. If you have one, fine. You know what? You worked hard, you earned the money, and this is how you want to reward yourself, go for it. There's nothing wrong with it. As long as you also feel the need to support others and create an impact in other people's life. But creating an impact in the environment, in people's lives, in the world doesn't need to come at a sacrifice of your material pursuits or financial pursuits. You don't have to live in a hut with nothing in order to feel spiritual or to serve the world. You can live in a nice house with a nice pool and a nice car and still impact the world.
Well, thank you. I know, and just to add, I mean, I know we're at time and hopefully you have a minute or two, but just like you said, like, you shouldn't feel guilty for some of these materialistic things. I think you said as a monk, people think you don't even have a MacBook Pro, but you said you had a MacBook, you got the latest iPhone. So I guess when we're talking about folks starting their journey or, what's next for you, what advice do you have for Googlers or anyone out there seeking a spiritual journey or starting to concentrate? And then the second thing would be like, what's next for you?
I would say, first step, read the book. Not that I'm trying to sell the book. Like you said at the start, Shilpa, I put 27 years of my learnings and experiences and practices in that book. It wasn't like I went to Malibu and had a spiritual awakening and came back and wrote a book. The 27 years of my life is in that book. Learn how to focus, use that ability to focus to discover your purpose in life. And if you're spiritually inclined, then use that as well to discover and identify your goal, your spiritual goal in life as well. But I would say the most important thing is define clearly the goal, outline a path to that goal, or help someone outline the path to the goal, and then systematically follow the process to get to the goal. The same way that I'm assuming you do everything at Google. You define clearly what you want, and then you outline the path to it, and then you guys work to build that. Don't take any different approach when it comes to your personal life or your spiritual life. We abandon practicality when it comes to our personal life. We abandon practicality when it comes to our spiritual life. All of a sudden we think like, I'll just ask the universe, I'll stick a picture up on the wall and ask the universe to guide me. And when the time is ready, the universe will show me the way. Like, give me a freaking break. No, you can do it. Figure it out like you figure everything else at work.
So that was hard advice to take, but it's so true and practical. So I think we all heard you. We will start going to the drawing board and mapping out our minds and
mapping out. Exactly.
And coming up with the plan. But thank you so much. We hope one day you'll invite us all to Siva Ashram. We'd love to be there. And thank you for your time with us at Talks at Google. Thank you again.
You're most welcome, Shilpa. Thank you everyone for tuning in.